Hello, BookTube. Well, as you can see, I once again have a guest. I am a regular chatty Cathy on this channel. This is Micah Cummins, who once upon a
Hello,
time,
hello.
a long time ago, used to make BookTube videos.
That's true.
I keep having Zoom chats with people. Who will I chat with next? Who should be my next victim? Daniel at Guilty Feet, perhaps?
That'd be good. That'd be a good match. Have you had him on before?
No, no, nobody wants to
Perfect.
Zoom chat with me. I'm a leper,
Perfect.
a pariah. But
Your
we
next
have a
victim.
subject. This is the Micah dialogues, and we have a subject, and it's a humdinger. It's a subject that Micah came up with himself. Ordinarily, I frown on independent thinking on the part of anyone who isn't me. But in this case, it's too good a subject to pass up. And that subject is social media, which we are
Yes.
on right now.
Yes.
We
So it
shouldn't
can't
forget.
be.
YouTube is a gigantic social media platform.
It is.
I always find it funny that a lot of people who have YouTube channels will go on their YouTube channel to say, I don't do social media. But
But that's one of the topics I wanted to bring up in this video. Is sort of a little bit of social media hypocrisy on YouTube.
you just to set the stage here, because viewers who are new to our channels, if YouTube is the algorithm, God forbid, if it pushes these collaborations, they're going to see two very young guys and they're going to
Yes.
wonder at what the differences are.
Exactly.
For those viewers, we should point out that, or I should ask anyway, do you remember a time without social media apps? Without, you don't.
I
Already
remember
much
I remember when they were new. I remember when Snapchat was new, hearing it referred to, or when Instagram was new. But I was young enough that I wasn't old enough to even be on them if I wanted to be necessarily. So really, most of my life it's
Well,
always
and
been
before
on
that, Facebook.
right in Facebook,
So
right,
you are a digital native.
right. Because I was born in 2003, so really I was sort of at the beginning of everything. Oh, I was born too late to be born before anything. Social media.
Okay, so by 2003, okay, so by the time you got to high school, you must have been surrounded by people who had lived, eat, and breathed
Oh yeah,
these.
most people my age.
Okay, so what's your own origin story with social media,
So
the
I
so-called social
I've
media?
had I've had an Instagram account once for a little under a year. And I was trying it out because a lot of the people who were my age were all over social media and everyone was using it and it seemed to be this fantastic great thing. So I got an account. I started using it. I instantly disliked it. I did not understand why people were enjoying it so much or what people found interesting about it. I found it just to be sort of another way of having another outlet for people to be unlikable or to say things they wouldn't actually say to someone if they were face to face with them. And so I ended up deleting it, as did
Okay,
the rest of
so
my family.
we can go on, but I want to make
Yes,
sure not to let strands get away from me. So you say you instantly didn't like it.
right.
The reasons that you alluded to just there were the bad things that it does to its users.
Right.
I'm curious. So those things were the first things out of your mouth when you said that you instantly didn't like it. Were those the reasons that caused you to drop it?
Yes. Basically, seeing the difference between hang being being physically with in a room with people, talking with them, seeing how they behaved, seeing what they acted like, and then sort of seeing these other sides of people or the curated sides of people,
Wow. Okay.
and not getting enough
Dishonest.
of saying, I know this person in real life, and this image that they're portraying on social media, this is not the person that I know. So which one is the true self, and which version are they giving to me? Because I
Wow.
only want the true version.
That's interesting because a lot of people around your age who have a disinclination for social media dislike it not because of what they're seeing from other people, but because of the effect it's having on them.
Mm,
That they are putting a duplicitous face forward, or most especially, the reason that I've heard from most people in their early 20s, why they don't like this stuff is because it's a bottomless black hole of wasted time. You just scroll,
Absolutely.
you suddenly find
The death scroll. You can just go forever.
those things weren't the first things that you brought up. So those things weren't problems.
No, I didn't ever struggle with sort of the death scroll phenomenon. I just wasn't really even interested in it to stay on the platform that long. It didn't entice me. I would much rather have gone and done other things. So
Okay.
I didn't face the sort of addictive element,
Okay.
which I do
Yes,
think
the
is rare.
element is the one I was talking about. Not so much you were talking about the social elements. But
Right.
it has addictive elements too. That
Absolutely.
okay. So that's Instagram. What about Facebook?
I have no experience with
No, no.
Facebook whatsoever.
How would you not have had a Facebook account?
I've never had a
Years
Facebook
ago?
account. I have been on Facebook pages occasionally when I'm linked on a website to a public Facebook page for some event or something that I just need to go get information off of, but I've never had a Facebook account. I probably spent 5 minutes on Facebook through the course of my life. It's been a
But that
non
has to be
for me.
rare. When you were in high school,
Oh,
it was all the rage.
it is. It's very rare.
What
I really know very few other people who are in the same boat as me.
was that the same reason that you saw the versions of your friends that they were putting on Facebook and thought these aren't the same
Well,
people?
for that one, not really, because I wasn't really even on Facebook. And I
Right.
think for me, it's always been I've anytime for friendships for me, I've always been um a very sort of connecting on a deep level with people, and having trouble connecting sort of through superficial. um I'm trying to figure out how to word this, but more saying social media doesn't seem to give me the depth in friendships that I'm looking for, or for the quality of connection that I'm looking for. So it never interested me to even get on there and see what was going on. And so
So
I never even gravitated toward it.
deeper personal levels, like someone sending you 10 Voxer messages about this weird itch in his elbow.
Exactly.
You want to go on to deep levels like
The
that.
details.
It just
Instead of just saying a picture of your fancy lunch.
well, that is odd. That had to have been a wedge between you and your peers I'm thinking
Absolutely.
about late high school.
Most,
High school when peer pressure is fierce,
yes.
groupthink is fierce.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons why my high school years and even now my friend circle is incredibly small. And it's stayed incredibly small for that reason of I don't deal with peer pressure, and I don't deal with it on purpose because I curate my social groups to be the types of people that wouldn't pressure me because they know me,
Hmm.
or the types of people who influence me in the ways that I want to be influenced. And especially through high school, my social group was very small. I had maybe a couple of people that I would call friends, but even then, it was on a very small scale. And even
Critics,
now, that remains true.
critics of social media would say that have always been saying that despite the illusion of your subscriber count or your friend count, that is true for everybody. Your actual
Yes,
intimate
right.
friends that you
So
can count on the fingers of one hand. No
exactly.
matter
So
what.
basically, I just have stripped away the sort of the numbers, the illusionary numbers that you have a greater amount of people than you actually do. So in that regard, I'm very normal. I've just sort of stripped away the facade
And
of having a
as long
following.
as we're talking about various social media platforms, I'm assuming that we don't even need to mention Twitter.
No,
Assuming that was
no.
never a temptation of yours. If you could feel this way about Instagram, I'm assuming that no,
Yes.
there's
The
no
only
interest.
the first my first exposure to what Twitter could really do started in 2016, as I'm sure it started with a lot of people. And that is when I said I will never get on this platform ever because this is a madhouse.
It's a weird platform. It's weird to go on a platform and have all the people on it being completely at odds on every issue under the sun, except for one. That this platform is poison. That seems
Yes.
weird. It seems like a weird thing for millions of people to agree on, and yet
Yet they
they're
stay.
all there. It's like
Right.
rummies in the park that are admitting they have a problem and can't stop it. But it can be enchanting at times. It can be. It is unlike anything else when it's being at its most Twittery.
Interesting.
Then there's no real. For me, the moment wasn't 2016. It was the Boston Marathon bombing,
Ah,
where bombs went off directly across the street from the Boston Public Library at the finish line of the Boston Marathon.
right.
Were caught. The explosions were caught on camera, and
Mm.
a whole swath of the crowd was laid down, and there was blood everywhere. And the bombers got away temporarily. They got away. They left the scene.
Right.
Surveillance footage had them right away. It's right within hours, right away as to what they looked like, and then reports started to come out of where they were, and those reports started happening in real time on Twitter,
Interesting.
where from people who weren't news agencies. So
Right.
someone in North Andover or whatever says, "I'm looking out my kitchen window, and I'm watching the police assemble outside some parking lot where they think these guys are, and here's the cell phone footage that I'm taking of their sirens while it's
Oh, wow.
Or somebody would say, a bullet just came through my kitchen window and lodged in my kitchen
Mm.
cabinet door, and here's a picture of the bullet hole."
Wow.
And you had false reporting too. You had people, all sorts of reports about one of the bombers making his way to New York to bomb something
Mm.
there. All sorts of reports of that, but they were as quickly debunked as they arrived.
Oh, interesting.
Gradually, a narrative started to form. I was refreshing Twitter like a 12-year-old
Yeah.
every 2 minutes for the better part of 2 days
Wow.
to try and figure that out. And it was so, the thing that really brought it home is that I did that for the whole of that night, the whole of the day of the bombing, and the whole of the night. I was refreshing Twitter to find out, what do we know? What's happening here? It was Twitter that first learned that one of the bombers had accidentally run over the body of the other of the bombers on
Mhm.
his way to make an escape. It was Twitter that learned everything about this first. I remember watching that, and then at the at the end of that evening, I turned on the news, and they were years behind in the story. They
Hmm.
didn't know anything at all because they were doing it the old-fashioned way. They were waiting for three unconnected confirmed sources. They were waiting for all sorts of official statements and documentation, which might be good for setting an official story, but it doesn't tell you anything about what's happening in the moment. And Twitter suddenly revealed to me that it could do that. But
That is really interesting.
it's
Sort of
mostly
bring the strength of bringing a large group of people together, focus on one central subject.
yeah. And in the past, since then, that has sometimes happened again.
Mm.
Like, for instance, Twitter is invaluable when a hurricane strikes the Florida coast or something like that,
Interesting. Hmm.
because you're not waiting. You get to see, people have cameras on them at all times. You get to see what's happening, and
Right.
you have to filter that out because, like, for instance, when Hurricane uh, what was it? Hurricane Sandy, right? That hit Lower Manhattan,
Hmm.
and you had people posting pictures of subway cars pulling into the station with water pouring out the doors at 6 foot height. But you also had people posting pictures of the lower concourse of a subway platform on 145th Street with sharks swimming in it that had been put there digitally. So you had to sort of
Right.
go out the stuff yourself.
That's right. That's something that probably we'll see more and more of as sort of AI generated imagery and video becomes more prominent and more detailed of the sort of sifting through, okay, what's being fed to me and what's accurate and what's some convoluted computer generated imagery.
I would be worried about that myself, but there is no generative AI that couldn't improve my channel. so, so I'll just sit back and be happy.
You'll just take whatever you can get.
You were never tempted by Twitter at
No.
all. Just a set.
No. And I attribute a lot of that to my parents because neither of them were ever enticed by any social media at all. And so I never had it mentioned in the house. So it
Never
was
had them scrolling on their phone.
no. So
After dinner
I
table.
never saw that.
Plenty of your peers had their parents scrolling on the phone
Right.
at the dinner table. That
Right.
that's
So
that goes a long way.
I've never seen that behavior from them ever. I've never seen that from any of my my siblings or my friends because of sort of the way I parse through my friend group. So I was never enticed into that sort of behavior because I never saw it demonstrated for me.
Well, okay, all of this raises the biggest possible elephant in the room, which is that you started a YouTube channel.
Yes.
That had to be, now that I'm realizing the whole picture, that had to be done with huge misgivings. And not the usual misgivings. A lot of people on YouTube will say, on BookTube will say, I had misgivings about starting a channel because of the technology, because of the oddness of, talking to a camera in my room, because I wasn't sure I
Yep.
had anything to say. But with you, there's the added idea of just this leeriness of social media in general.
Right. That was definitely present in my decision making of if I wanted to do a channel or not. And it's still one of the elements that I sort of struggle with even now. Of sort of, I don't like social media. Why am I on YouTube? Why do I have a channel on a social media platform? What am I doing? Um, and for me, for some reason, there seems to be an element, particularly in the BookTube community, that seems different from anything I've ever experienced, but then also different from anything I've ever heard about social media platforms. And I think if I had a channel sort of on the broader YouTube spectrum, if it wasn't in the book niche that I wanted to do a channel, I probably wouldn't have done one. And it's because BookTube seems different from the rest of YouTube.
Two or 300 channels
It's
certainly do. We all know each other, talk to each other.
right.
Somebody makes a new channel, we welcome them
Hmm. And
personally. We
it seems
personally
much
welcome them.
more exactly. It seems much more community based. It seems much more tight knit. So it doesn't really feel like social media to me. It feels more like discussing topics with friends. And it's simply through this lag video form where someone posts a video and then 2 days later you get another video response to a video or something of that nature. And so it's a slow down conversation, but a conversation nonetheless. And it
So
seems very authentic.
So on your channel, have you had much of what we would in this conversation consider the stereotypical aspects of social media? Flame comments, troll
Only
comments, that sort of
only a
thing.
handful. I think
Only
I have something like 230 videos right now, I believe, 220 videos. And I think only on 2 or 3 of those I have received what I would consider a troll comment or sort of just an unrelated random comment that is in some way sort of negative but not really because it's convoluted and it doesn't make any sense at all. And it's why did you even post this? Why are you watching my channel? But honestly, it's been mainly positive and that's what's kept me around.
your description of those comments almost felt like a crack at my Voxer messages.
Why are you sending me this?
What does any of this mean?
This in no way pertains to my life. It is
I'm sure
10:30
that you weren't
p.m.
intending it that way.
No.
This is
Comments on my
definitely
YouTube
pertains
channel,
to my
not
life.
comments on my videos, not personalized messages.
Very nice.
Send me. Those are different and need to pass. I
What about
expect them to not pertain to my life.
how many messages was it just yesterday about UPS shipping?
Well, I was refreshing. It was similar to the Twitter episode you were describing. I wanted to know what was going on. I was waiting.
But
I was waiting for my
okay, so
UPS update.
troll comments and things like that, that is an external thing. That is the world of social media reaching
Yes.
out to be its worst element to you,
Right.
which is the
Right.
thing that we all think about with social media. But there's that other element where it's the worst elements are reaching out to pull the worst elements out of you.
You right.
And I wonder if you've ever felt those too, like for instance,
Exactly.
looking at view counts on a video, paying attention to
Yes.
subscriber counts, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Which
It's
is, it's you might, it sounds like you might catch yourself doing that and say, I don't
mhm,
want to do that.
right.
Quite apart from I don't think it's important. I don't want to be the kind of person that gets trained
Right.
to be that way.
And I have felt that absolutely. I remember when I first started my channel, sort of when I first started, I didn't care about it at all because it was such a new thing, and I was just trying to figure it out. Then a couple months after sort of settling in, I started noticing, oh, this video is not doing as well as this other video, or oh, look, I lost 3 subscribers. I wonder why. Or oh, good, I got some back, so that's good. And daily going to my dashboard and refreshing it and looking at stats and caring, very deeply about it, and then sort of that sort of tapering off, and then not caring for a long time, and suddenly one day being sucked back in and caring about it. And it's like how you described of sort of trying to catch myself in those moments of being like, this is a waste of time. It doesn't matter. This is not something worth putting my energy towards. Um, sort of feeling, like you said, sort of pulling the worst out of you, vice versa, and vice versa, pulling the worst out of the
Yeah,
broader masses.
I didn't care. You don't care about it at all until it starts to move.
Right.
Numbers start to change, and then all of a sudden, just naturally, you look at it and
Right.
look.
Because for the first couple weeks, maybe even the first month or so on my channel, there was very little movement. Maybe maybe a couple subscribers every week, but not really enough to notice anything. And then it was when it really started jumping by 10s, 20s, 30s, really started racking up, that I started to care. And then sort of similarly, again, now it's sort of tapered off a little bit more, where it's growing still, but at a very slow pace, slow enough that I don't care to check anymore. But I'm sure that the day it takes another large spike, naturally I'll be pulled back into caring, just because of the way it's set up. It's designed to make you care.
Oh
It's
yes,
it's
very much
it's
so.
designed to make you want to see those numbers go up, and to be, sort of be scrambling when they go down, to try to figure out, what do I need to do? What more do I need to do on this platform to get
Yeah.
those numbers to go back up?
Have you thought about leaving? Hate to
I
bring
have
it up,
not
we've lost some good booktubers lately, but
I have not thought about leaving. I have not thought about leaving, but I have definitely sort of thought about how I can restructure my own approach to keep the community and the personalized aspects, but to let myself break free from any of the pressure put on me by sort of the inherent design of the platform.
it is designed that way.
Because and I think YouTube is probably the most gentle of the platforms available. I think probably Instagram and TikTok and some of the and those are probably the ones that, I mean, those algorithms are brutal.
Yeah.
So I think YouTube is the most forgiving and the most lax, but because it's the only platform I'm present on, I feel it probably stronger than I would if I was a part of those other platforms that were a little bit more intense
I think
on their.
you share something in common with the old Facebook as well, which is that it really is an on-ramp to the real world versions of the things that it's simulating.
Right.
There is no real world version of TikTok, thank God.
No,
But
no. I mean, for example,
you can make
just
a friend on YouTube, a genuine
right.
friend. You
Right. And
and
and the
then
conversation like this that we're having right now, or the dozens of conversations similar to this one that will happen on BookTube today, can be recreated almost exactly in real life.
right,
This is no different from us just sitting across a table from each other talking. There
right.
there's no sort of, like you said, there's no real life version of a TikTok video. You're not
No.
going to go stand in front of a stranger and both dance at each other for 5 seconds. Like,
Or the latest trend on TikTok, you don't know, but the latest trend on TikTok will stagger you. You will simply not understand the words that
it's
I'm saying. The
it's
latest
honestly why I've stopped caring or paying attention even on the
the
news.
latest trend on TikTok is for a TikToker to have a friend film him while he runs inside a stranger's house and just starts touching things, moving things around, or runs up to a stranger on the street and says, "Are you ready to die?" Over and
So
over,
the real life version of that TikTok creation ends you in jail
or dead.
or dead,
Yeah,
shot.
yeah.
If you
Uh,
did that where I live, you would end up shot and dead
on
instantly.
8chan, there is on the message boards, the incel message boards. There's all sorts of talk about how there's almost a kind of informal dare going on. Can
Mm.
you get yourself killed
Well, I mean,
on
you
TikTok?
read so many articles of TikTok users who have died from attempting incredibly stupid
Right,
stunts
right, and this is on their
their
upping the ante
accounts.
on that. Right, there've been plenty of TikTokers who have died because they, how close to the edge of the cliff can you get before you take your picture? How tall
Right,
a building can you go before you take your picture looking down? This
right,
is the next step up from that is how can you get someone to murder you
right,
on TikTok?
right. Can you aggravate someone to
Views
the
that you
point?
will never see for clout that you will never use.
Right. But it is so it messes with your mind so much
You would have to be.
that you
You would
assume
have to
you're
be
immortal.
demented.
Right.
The comments on that particular TikTok trend are exactly the ones that were the first thing out of your mouth. If you tried that where I live, you would die. The person would kill you, and the law
Yeah.
wouldn't touch them. They would be within their rights to kill you.
Right. Right.
Also, in along those same lines for that latest trend is a TikToker running up to someone on the street and snatching up the dog they're walking. And you run off with it a few feet just because you want to film the dog walker's reaction, and then you hand it back. And
There's no
I didn't think anything of this fad until I saw TikTok clips of that, and then I automatically thought of myself.
right. If someone
The person
walked up
would
to
hand
you,
my dog back to me, and I would break their neck.
right, someone walks up to you and grabs the bean and runs away.
Yeah, the if that were to happen, and then they were to turn around and say, and point at their friend who's filming and say, "Hey, it was just a gag. That
Right.
was, it was just
Absolutely not.
used on TikTok," and then they hand Frida back and say she's a really cute dog. I would say, "Thanks, she is really cute." I'd put her down. I'd put my foot on her leash, and I would kill the person,
Yes.
go to jail. But the person would.
Yes.
So
Right. Because they
that is
walked up to
certainly
you
going to happen.
and grabbed your dog.
The people who are doing this TikTok fag have read all of those comments. They're all happening in the UK, but they have now read these comments, and because of what you say, because this actually unseats your reason, they're
Yes.
viewing those comments as suggestions.
Yes.
This will be even better for views.
Absolutely. And it's the most bizarre thing. It's unleashed the dumbest aspects of humanity and made it where you get rewarded, you get money and lots of it for being the stupidest version of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You let all reason go, all intelligence go, the most base
Logan Paul.
behaviors.
You become Logan
Yes.
Paul.
Yes. And you start making $20 million a year from being an absolute idiot.
I think a big portion of the responsibility here is the platforms that don't stop this.
Right.
TikTok is they are seeing millions and millions of people watch videos in which somebody runs into a stranger's house and
Yes.
starts handling
They're
their
not
material.
doing anything.
They're not doing anything. They're leaving those videos up.
Right. Because it's doing
You and I both know what will happen.
huge things for their platform.
The first time
bumping their
somebody
numbers
does
through the
that
roof.
to a house in Texas, they'll die on camera.
Right. Right.
The first time that happens, they'll die.
Yes.
And that'll be TikTok's fault to a large extent.
Absolutely. And they won't do anything.
But we're running out of time.
We are. And we're drifting. We're drifting.
We're drifting. Yes. Two old men yelling at so
I think my cardigan.
you mentioned half an hour ago that one of the thoughts on your mind was social media hypocrisy
Yes.
when it comes to BookTube. Or was it just when it comes to YouTube?
I think when it comes to probably to YouTube, the broader scope of YouTube, but I mean I say that I'm not on social media in lots of my videos. You can go find clips of me saying that posted on a video on my channel on YouTube, which is a social media platform.
But how much worse does it get? I mean, when you're watching a video, whether it's BookTube or anything else, do your instincts sort of start ringing bells when you get all the wrong signals from someone, when you sense they're not after the real world equivalent, they're just after?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why a lot of even the larger BookTube channels I don't watch. Because I just get a feeling that there's absolutely nothing genuine being portrayed whatsoever here. Of sort of, I'm talking the big channels that have more, 300,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers, as if we're talking about Jack Edwards or something. Of just where there's just a feeling of
do that too, right? It's an attitude, not a subscriber count.
It's an attitude of sort of I'm doing this, but I'm not really interested in this for its intrinsic value, but for the value that it will bring me if you watch my video and subscribe and click like and donate to my Patreon or whatever.
Do you think that that might be the saving grace for this little area of BookTube? Is that it's mostly not that?
I think it is. I think that's why it's stuck around for so long, and why it's so strong and tight knit, and why it will last for a really long time. Because the people in this area that we're in, they hold the same values and sort of the same attitude of, this is something that would still happen in real life if I were closer to this person that I'm talking to, if I wasn't across the country or across the world from them.
It's always a dangerous thing. The gravitational pull of Hyde Cottage, it pulls in all kinds of people.
It's true.
Dangerous thing. You never know who's going to end up in this room for wine and calzones. I certainly wish it, but I think you're right. I think that element is directly noticeable and so off-putting when it's not there.
Right.
When it's just the person talking to their future revenues.
Yes.
When there's such a difference between a person talking to a revenue stream versus a person talking to a person.
Right. And I should clarify, there are plenty of gigantic channels that are done by incredibly passionate, authentic individuals. I don't want to just brush off every large channel as being just sort of a scam to make money. There are lots of channels that they're large because they're good content creators.
Yes.
And then there are a lot as well that sort of are the opposite side. But
I was hoping that when you said that, examples would come flooding to mind, and maybe 2 or 3 came trickling to mind instead. They are out there, though. They're definitely.
Because I don't want to just make a broad stroke and say every channel over however many subscribers is a fraud. Right. That's cruel to say, and that's not true.
Right. It's not a function of subscribers.
Just like there are plenty of small channels under 100 subscribers that I watch, and I will get that same vibe that they're trying to grow something inauthentic. So it goes both ways.
So do you tell your small group of friends now that you are on social media?
I say that I'm on YouTube. If they ask, "Are you on social media?" I'll say I have a YouTube channel.
But it's
And
not
typically
just
they
that
say
you're
that's
on
not social
YouTube.
media.
It's not just that you're on YouTube. The minute someone sounds off in your comments saying, "I read such and such a book because you talked about it and I really liked it," you're
Right.
a social media influencer.
Yes. Very true.
And you are. That's happened to you.
It has. It happened just the other day.
So how do you live with this contradiction? That on the one hand, you're, Mr. Straight Edge when it comes to no social media, and on the other hand, you're an actual social media influencer.
I think I have to sort of come up with my own structure of what I consider to be okay for me personally, and then what I don't want to get involved in. And so YouTube's probably the farthest I'll ever go. I don't ever see myself starting any other social media accounts.
All sorts of polls say that people your age, that 40% of them, when asked what they want to do with their lives, what their professional aspirations are, they say they want to be an influencer.
Really? Is that high?
40%.
40%?
And that I have to guess that
I don't want to be an influencer. I'm scared right now that I might be one.
For me, it's comfortable only within the bounds of what I know. I'm
Right.
perfectly okay being an influencer about books.
That makes me happy. If someone leaves a comment and says, "I read one of these books and I absolutely loved it. Thank you for telling me about it." That makes me happy all day. And that's something that I want to influence people in that way. Absolutely. Anything else, probably keep me keep me out of it. Don't tell me I inspired you to do anything else.
So you won't be wrapping up this video and running into strangers' houses.
Probably not. I'll probably hold on that. I'll hold on that for a while. And I probably won't be snatching any dogs either.
Good. Well, that's a happy note to end on. Interesting. Very interesting.
I didn't know that. I didn't know about either of those last two trends. That's appalling.
It's horrifying to watch. It's absolutely horrifying to watch. The person that's the point of view camera at the top of the stairs going down to the basement rumpus room, when the father of the house, the middle-aged man, rounds the corner looking up the stairs saying, "Who the hell are you?
Right.
Get out of the house."
Yeah.
It's not staged, none of it is fake, and you're only thinking, if that was in Dallas, that guy would already have heard a noise upstairs and he would have a gun in his hand when he did
right.
That.
And they also wouldn't ask who you were. They would just shoot you because you're in their house.
The law would protect you.
Right. That's
we've drifted back to that.
We're drifting.
Let's not drift.
We have to wrap it up.
Yes, and feel free, those of you in the comments, let us know what social media you use and
Please,
how often you use it. That is fascinating to me.
please do.
How addicted you are to various things. That
Right.
would be wonderful to know that. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Frida
Yes.
and I are going to go snatch dogs.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Steve. Bye, everyone.